Over the past few decades, and especially in the past 5 years, Assam has become synonymous with two things: the National Register of Citizens and the Citizenship Amendment Act. Sometimes people, especially those in mainland, confuse the two. Sometimes they connect these two with something else and arrive at a completely different and wrong conclusion. But for this video, we are not going to focus much on Assam. We will refer to it, of course, because how can you talk about NRC without mentioning Assam, right? It is like asking a BJP follower to talk about corruption without mentioning Congress, or asking a Congress worker to complete one sentence without mentioning the greatness of Rahul Gandhi. I'm Kalyan Deb, and in this episode of Decoded, we are going to focus on Manipur. Pursuing for months.
The village of Assam
in the 75th Independence Day.
A state with around 3.5 million people from numerous communities, a violent past, and now it seems an uncertain future. Anyone familiar with the history and the present of Manipur knows that the state's Imphal Valley and the hills have mostly moved parallel to each other and rarely together. But on one fine day in March, we saw a strong sense of unity among the hills and valley. Members of AMSU, MSF, DESAM, KSA, SUK, AIMS and ANSAM took part in the sit-in demonstration in collaboration with the Manipur Students Association in Delhi.
Manipur NRC! Manipur NRC!
A few days before the Delhi event, protests in Imphal demanding the NRC got so aggressive that the police had to lathi charge the protesters. But why is this demand finding so many backers in Manipur? As we said earlier, Manipur is a small state in size and in population. Manipur's population is about 3.5 million. To put that in context, UNICEF reports that about 25 million children are born in India every year. States like Manipur are little more than a speck on India's population chart. Maharashtra, for example, has almost 33 times more people than Manipur. Even Assam has over 10 times more people than Manipur. But numbers alone barely tell the story. Within the 3 million, you have the Meiteis, an indigenous community which also has the majority population in the state but barely control 10% of the state's geographical territory. Then there are over 3 dozen indigenous tribal communities that live in the hills, but while they control the majority of the geographical territory, their population is not as high. Yes, I know, that is very simplistic way of putting things. You don't know the true history, you fake journalist. Yes. To all those typing that, just wait. At least finish the video before you start swearing at us. Where were we? Yes, the threat of outsiders taking over the local population, as we said earlier, is not unique to Assam or Manipur or any other northeastern state. It is, if anything, a common fear shared by all indigenous communities across the region. In Manipur, the narrative is that outsiders are not only taking over and their population is increasing substantially, but that they are also promoting anti-social activities like growing opium, among others, thereby hurting a state that has fought a long and often bloody battle against drugs. On these points, at least, it is difficult to not see a rationale between the demand for NRC. But the problem begins after we acknowledge that the NRC can offer a solution. You see, NRC is not an "okay, we will do it from tomorrow" concept. In India, the NRC has so far only been implemented in Assam, and that too after a long, oftentimes violent history of the Assam agitation and the signing of the Assam Accord in 1985. Needless to say, there is no parallel version like an Imphal Accord for legitimizing such a demand. The NRC, at least for now, is not a ready-made model to be implemented in any and every state as and when needed. It is more an exception rather than the norm. Then there is the process of NRC itself. In Assam, it was under the supervision of the Supreme Court of India. Has the Supreme Court agreed to the same for Manipur? Will they? The Manipur-based scholars we spoke with also pointed out several issues with the demand and the implementation of the NRC. Here is Dhiren Sadokpam, the editor-in-chief of the Frontier Manipur, on what necessitated demand for NRC.
Critically, I mean, the argument that I put forward that, cut-off years of 1961 and 51 and maybe 71 in Assam, I'm combining all these acts, IMTD Act and what we call NRC, though IMTD Act is no longer spoken of, but we learned, from a lot, as I said, even from the Assam movement.
Yeah.
So that is why, analyzing IMTD Act is very important, and also why, say, 71 failed, even if a cut-off date was much more, another 1 decade later. What Manipur, government of Manipur, or the civil society organizations in Manipur and student bodies in Manipur are demanding in 1961, but at the end of the day, it's not about 61 or 71 or 51. It's about how it is being implemented, how the process is set into motion by actually working into it. And I don't think the experience that Assam had with NRC is not what you call fruitful. So, but does it mean that Manipur should not demand something like what Assam is doing? No. Manipur, or maybe Nagaland, or any other states for that matter in the whole of India, they have every right to demand to implementation of NRC, to actually identify who are the Indian citizens and who are not Indian citizens. But as I said, the temporal, the filter is not only the filter. There should be, as we say, a multiple filter to identify who are the illegal immigrants and who are Indian citizens. But there is also a difference between identifying who are Indian citizens, instead of identifying who are not Indian citizens. These are two different processes. In Assam, it could be little easy for simple reason that one can identify who are the illegal immigrants, primarily those who are coming from Bangladesh. But with reference to Manipur and Nagaland and Mizoram, it's little problematic, primarily because there are lots of illegal immigrants also coming into Manipur from the Myanmar side or the Burmese side. But if one look at closely from the anthropological aspect, we also know that, for instance, there are Nagas in what called in Myanmar. There are Chinkuki groups in Myanmar, and there are also lots of other those who belong to Chinkuki, what we known as Chikmis, Chinkuki Mizo groups who are there. So these processes also, not only from the temporal, as I said, temporal filter that one has to look, it has to be also looked upon from the anthropological and also the sociological and all kinds of dynamic, multi-layered filters, as you put it. That has to be the approach.
And I would like to add one last thing here. No one, barring maybe Pratik Hajela, seems happy with the NRC process in Assam. The BJP was so angry at the NRC outcome that they have time and again reminded us that they want the process to be done again. NRC, as we said, is not something that can be done as and when one wishes. It is a years-long process, costs hundreds of crores of rupees, and not everyone emerges from the process unscathed. As of April 2023, we still do not know what Assam and the Indian government will do with those who do not make it to the NRC final list and are declared foreigners once and for all. So far, for all the noise we have created on the issue of outsiders, there are less than 2,000 people, almost all of whom are too poor to defend themselves, in custody, in subhuman conditions, unsure whether their detention will continue or whether they will be deported. And mind you, the NRC did not put them in jail, technically. It is the Election Commission of India that did this. Manipur and Manipuris have every right to protect their lands, culture and traditions. But if they do go for the NRC process, it will be good if they learn from and not imitate the Assam model.
Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to EastMojo. For any queries, put them down in the comments section below and press on the bell icon for notifications.